be honest.
You will have to contact the town office and ask Amy.
I think what was brought up was the letters become part of the record of this meeting. Is that taking place? Are those letters part of the record of this meeting?
They're part of the record of the application.
Okay.
Peter, go ahead.
Yeah. So my name's Peter Roberts. I work for Sunday River. A letter from my boss, just kind of outlining our stance for the written record. So an overview of the project, for those of you who don't know, we are revamping our learning area on Sundance, putting in 3 new magic carpet lifts. Can create a much better experience for beginning skiers. Also opens the door for us to do some terrain-based learning with the ski school. There were a lot of comments brought forth by Fall Line because our current plan is going to ask Fall Line residents to walk across Sundance and ski on a new trail on the Double Dipper. That won't be happening this year just because of the time crunch. This year, residents will be asked to just ski down Sundance respectfully at the ski school. That's pretty much it.
Ski down where?
What was that?
Where, as you come out of Fall Line, right to the left?
Yep, take a left and stay skiers left.
And that would be how wide?
I think it'll probably be about 1.5 groomer widths.
And it would be groomed?
That's the plan.
And when you go down at Sundance, let's say next year, would that be, you said walk across, so you can't ski across?
You can ski across if you fishbone uphill, but no, it's meant to be
Why
walking.
can't they make it go downhill?
Just because of the grading changes.
All right, Pete.
That was your focus.
Go ahead and, no, I'll ask you, please ask your questions to the chair. Is that, you done with your opening statement?
Yeah, that's just my opening statement.
Okay,
Thank you.
my name is Bill Cullen.
Yep.
And my question is, why do you feel the need to move the lifts to the right side of Sundance when you're looking uphill as opposed to just keeping them on the left and building what you need there?
So let me read a paragraph that we have gotten from our lawyer. It just kind of will put it in perspective. I know a lot of people, probably everybody's interested in the ski in and ski out. I just want to let everybody know that where the planning board, what we can and can't do. The planning board's function in review of projects is to determine, on the basis of the application, materials received by the board, and any public comment whether the application meets the criteria in the Unified Development Review Ordinance enacted by the town meeting. In this case, the relevant criteria are the sections 5, criteria of approval, A through U. The planning board must employ the ordinance the town meeting enacted and cannot amend it or make up its own standards. So hopefully everybody can direct their questions towards the ordinance, which is the Bible that we have to go by.
I have a question to the chair. My name is Jeff Irvine. Is that council representing the planning commission, or is that a council for Sunday River? That you just read that statement.
It's the town's council.
Thank you.
Norm Parisian, because of the ordinance, but the planning board, your function and your jurisdiction, the planning board is to factor in any adverse effects to others. And this is quite an adverse effect to others. And to protect us from that there, and it doesn't appear that that's the case, that you're kind of more what seems a little one-sided.
As
Adverse
one-
effects to others, you must.
Yeah, that's all factored into the application and consideration of the application. But when it comes down to voting for the application and its approval, we have a criteria of approval that we go by. And if there's something in there that is pertaining to your interest, then that's something that we can act on. And I'm not, and there very well could be. You have a copy of the ordinance. That's a good start.
Yeah, the saying is, you'll have that little trail going down to the left side, which is fine. And after that, you'll go down across, and then you'll have to shimmy uphill to get to where you need to go. And then you've got, a lot of elderly people, there's a lot of grandchildren. And I bought there, I was at Cascades before, but I bought there because it was on the bunny slope, and my grandkids could go right there. So that's a personal thing. I'm just saying adverse effect, and you're not taking into consideration everybody. And now the grandkids are going to have to climb uphill and things of that nature. And I've seen there's a lot of kids there. So I think you hopefully can reconsider and try to see if there's be a downhill path. Sundance, I think it's Sundance, right? The next trail. And that's all.
Peter,
Seems like an easy enough fix if people that just want to work together.
have there been any more discussions between you and?
Yeah, I've had a lot of great discussions with several different owners. Our stance is we're open to discussion, we're open to hearing different ideas and considering different ideas. We don't feel like the planning board meeting is the correct place to do that because we don't think that the flow of ski traffic on the trails is relevant to the town's ordinances or the criteria of approval. But I would encourage any of the owners who have an issue with the project to give me a call and give me their suggestions.
Is there an open forum, like an email or anything like that they can get a hold of you?
No, in their letters notice, I give them my contact information.
Ma'am?
Lorraine Duclos. I have a question which hopefully Peter can answer. If this is beginner terrain, and Mr. Precinct brought up the grandchildren, I too have toddler grandchildren, why would they be denied access to the Sundance area? And would they also be forced to climb uphill and go across, or could they go down with the people in the map that are coming up the carpet?
Would you like to answer that, Peter?
Yeah, again, like I just said, we're open to hearing your concerns, and I'll talk to you, and hopefully we can work something out that's mutually beneficial. But that in itself is not pertaining to the town's ordinances or the criteria of approval, so that's kind of what I want to focus on today.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Stacey McManus. Do you all think this pertains to the town's ordinances and your vote of approval? Because I think what I'm hearing Peter say is that there's no need for the town to weigh in on this whatsoever because it doesn't fall within your purview.
No, we're
I might have
here.
thought it did, but I don't know. What do you
This is a
all think?
public hearing, and we're here to listen to everybody's comments and their input.
But does it fall within your purview? So
I think all
what I'm
your,
hearing- what I'm
everything
hearing
you
is
say
these-
falls within our purview.
What I'm hearing Peter say is that it's not your decision to make. Do you all think it's your decision to make?
Works.
Yes, I think that ultimately a lawyer is going to decide this. And it's going to be the town's lawyer because there is a clause in Maine law, it's not in our ordinance, but Maine law trumps our ordinance. State law trumps our ordinance. It is called acquisition of right-of-way and easements by adverse possession. So if you have continually used that as a ski and ski out access for 20 years, you have a right to continue that. We can't make that decision as a board. It's going to have to be something that is decided in the courts, not a backroom deal. Because this is a public proceeding. You guys get letters because you're our abutters and you do have rights. It's not anything that can be decided with a handshake that isn't in a public hearing. That's the way that I read the law.
So you don't think they can come to a mutual agreement between themselves?
Not with it hold any legal weight.
I mean,
Even with a mutual agreement, and I think that's another option.
just to the chair, Jeff Irvine, my concern, and Peter, I know it would be the intent to meet a mutual resolution, but I don't see any dispute resolution process. At least as an owner, I haven't seen any clarity or pathway towards that end. So I would be concerned that we might be able to amicably, through some sort of process, drive a resolution. I haven't heard what that process would be. Even, it seems like it's a one-off type individual contact basis, and I think everybody wants to have an amicable resolution for this, but I hear what you're saying, but without a public forum, I don't see how that could happen.
I have a question for him.
Okay.
The operation. You had mentioned that, the abutters, we have, I might be misunderstanding, but it's for Peter, is that I understand we were not considered abutters, but neighbors, which makes a legal difference. And am I wrong?
I don't understand your question.
Okay.
You get an abutters notice, so that would, I guess, make you an abutter.
Legally,
But
in our
we're
eyes,
neighbors, that makes a difference if we're neighbors, and as abutters, we have, as neighbors, we don't have the rights, so we're not abutters.
right, in our eyes, you're abutters,
Okay,
because you
fine.
don't own the property,
Perfect.
but you're, you have
Yeah.
used it for,
Good. Thank you.
it's my understanding that there's been access for main handicap skiing since the inception of those condominiums. And it's my understanding that many people who rent those use the services of main handicap skiing. So to me, if there's anything to do that encumbers that right that was sold to you when you bought your units, then it does go beyond the planning board purview. But I do think that it's something that a lawyer has to give us advice on. Because we can't, I can't make determination of the law being a layperson.
Can I ask Peter a question or make a
You
statement?
can ask me, please.
Okay, well, so my name is Chris Kyle, and I have a condo in Fall Line. Been there about 12 years. I think I kind of speak for the people that, I'm a normal guy of kids, and I come up from southern Maine, and, I feel like after years, we're sort of part of the Third family. I mean, the money we spend, we go to your restaurants, the passes, the economic impact of just me alone, I figured 14 grand a year, that times that by all the condo owners. And as it is right now, and I'm out here all winter long, and you already have a fence at the top of Sundance, so it's already doing its job by mitigating traffic anyway. So I think to kind of change that is not good, and for any of us, because we want to be in ski out, ski and ski out. I think it's a really simple resolution, is just to have just a part of that trail, just to have access to, just to ski down. I think it's really, to make it any more difficult, than it's just,
Right.
that's all I want to see, because I love coming here, and, so, that's all. I just want to do that. I talk to him on the phone, I think if I see you face to face, I can kind of say, I think I'm just one of many. How many condo units are there? There's lots of us, right?
126.
So just do the math. I know Lowball, 8 grand, it's a lot of money, and we're there, and we're spending money, and I think that's what you guys want, to keep things going and keep making snow and be friendly and together on this. So, yeah. It's all the same thing. So I think it's great you guys want to teach young kids how to ski, and that's fantastic because I have young kids too. But if we can just please have access just to ski down, just a part of that trail. It's a humongous trail, and that's all. So that's,
Yeah,
thank you.
Tracy Moore, and I'd like to add to that, which I completely agree with. And what I heard you say, Peter, is that this year we'll be able to ski down. Skiers left Sundance, and it'll be about, a trail wide, a groomer wide. But you didn't tell us what's going to happen next year. And if this is approved this year, as is, then we've got a bigger issue next year, because we're not in front of a planning board, because it may already be approved. What I personally would like to see, and I think I speak for most people here, is if it is approved, I would like in writing how our access is going to be, how we're going to have access from Fall Line going forward in writing.
Here.
Here.
That's it. Yeah.
both above and below. Yes. Ski in access,
Dave,
ski out access in writing.
the
Dave
CEO,
Bonnie, code officer, town of Newry, resident of Newry also. It seems like the discussion's focused on, does somebody have a deeded right of way for egress and ingress? And what's the shape of that deeded right of way on the ground? The planning board reviews the applications to the criteria of approval. So adverse is what's within those criteria of approvals. So it seems like the bulk of the discussion is on your deeded right of way, if you have one, and what the layout of that is, which is a legal issue, not a planning board application review. Would be my thought.
Bill Cullen again. One thing we really haven't talked about is the actual damages financially. So I don't think it's just about, I mean, egress maybe is not a legal issue at hand, but the fact that our property values are going to go down, I think is at hand. And I have done seasonal rentals, I've done, vacation rentals, all that kind of stuff. Those values are going to go down. We do not have taxes.
that's, I guess that's your opinion, right? Well, I know nobody's gonna like this, but and I only say it because it should be said, but you're not being denied a ski in and ski out, correct?
Well, we don't know.
We don't know that.
We are.
I think the plan shows that they're building a trail.
No, they said for 1 year,
That's not.
He was very clear that that was just for next year.
next year.
And then we can walk. Have you
And then-
walking on skis uphill? I'm not even a child, I'm not a grandmother, I'm not a child. I don't want to do it. And I think I'm
And renters don't
in
want
dang
to.
good shape, and I don't want to do that either. And that's what we're trying to say. If this is approved by the planning board.
Right. If we approve that plan, that's what they'll do.
Right.
They're not gonna do, they can't do anything else. If they do, they're in violation.
So we're asking the planning board to please consider having something in writing to protect us. I think that's why we're all sitting here.
Yep, and we will consider that, and it's gonna be after we talk to the lawyer. Because that's, like Dave just said, that's beyond our purview. This is not what we don't negotiate private deeded rights away. You.
Yes. My name's Eric Hall. I own at Fall Line as well. I'm also a civil engineer and a PE, and I did my own grading plan on this. If they were to shift the two lifts down 30 feet, that would allow skiing straight across the hill. You may still not be going directly downhill, but you could ski down the hill, go down skier's right, avoid all the traffic where you would have to cut across down through the third one, if you want to call that, the lowest conveyor down by the river house. And then that would, I think, alleviate most of the concerns here. So if the plan was revised to shift down the hill, you could still get the same pitches that you want and everything else. It would mean Peter would have to submit another plan, but I think what we're looking for is something in writing, because if you approve that plan that's in there, they have to build what's in there. And as Peter stated, next year, that means little kids, elderly people, which, I'm sorry, any of the people here that are older than me, I didn't mean that in a negative way. If they have to hike up the hill, they fall on the icy slope, who are they gonna go after then? They're gonna try to go after Sunday River. I know they have rights on their lift tickets, etc. But all we're looking for is ski out, and I think it's a simple thing that could be achieved. That's all, it's in my letter, and that's all I drove 2.5 hours each way to come south.
Again, please.
Okay, in operation, I don't think it's an issue of deeded or anything. It's, I think the theme here, and I agree with her, and I agree with him, in a lot of what they've said, all what the theme here for all we're saying is just be a good neighbor and work with us, and we can come to a resolution. And he's come with a great idea that we can expand on and work on. So that's, as far as, legalities or things of that nature. You go to attorneys and they can do what you want them to do. I mean, they have to. And so I think trying to be a good neighbor, this is what I think the thing so far, that's what we're hearing is, we're not concerned. The legalities will be put together at the end and, all the T's crossed and the dots ited. And of course, be in writing for both parties and understand each other. Just try to be a good neighbor, that's it. That's what I say. There's no confrontation.
I wish we had a review to regulate being a good neighbor. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Mary Cloutier, and I have two perspectives. One, I'm a phone line owner for 25 years, and the other is I'm a Sunday River part-time ski instructor employee. And there's a desperate need for learning, and these conveyances look wonderful. But to quote someone who spoke over here about the ropes up above all of this, if it could still be those, so that if I'm skiing from up above and I've been called to work and I'm not in my clothes yet, my work clothes, I can fly into fall line, get in my locker, get on my ski coat, and come down skier's left still, when you've already said, Peter, that that's going to be open, so I can get right down to the ski school and meet my guests. And so that doesn't mean about hiking uphill and downhill or going all the way down and standing on those conveyances. So if you block it up with ropes and I can get through there legally and get the coat on and get down to work in a hurry, as they call, that would be great.
Nice, thank you.
Bill Cullen again, is there a scenario where they can commit to a plan and we have trust in it? Does that involve you guys?
It involves code enforcement.
Oh, as far as sticking to what they.
Well, this whole 1 year and then we don't know what we're going to do stuff. I think that's scaring everybody. So I'm wondering, I don't know if it's in writing or, I'm just curious what that process looks like. If we could make that happen.
If we approve anything, then that's what they do.
And a year from now, they can't do anything else. That's not what we just heard.
Who said otherwise?
I don't understand your question, I'm sorry.
You said that you were only going to keep that left side open for a year.
Our intention with managing ski traffic is that this year we won't have time to build the ski out that would go across the trail. And so, since that won't be there, our intention for this coming year is that skiers would ski out on Sundance on the skiers' left sides.
Let's make that very
Therefore, the plan will change.
But Peter, now you're calling it a ski out, and when you first stood up, you called it a walking access. So now you're calling it a different thing. And that's why I think we're a little concerned about what's gonna happen. And but my real question, to the planning board,
Please.
do you, kind of gonna be broad, but do you approve things that have this much controversy? You can hear the controversy. Do you approve things with this much controversy, or do you just kind of step back and say, Sunday River has given us a plan that maybe needs a little more tweaking, for lack of a better word?
Yes, we do approve plans that have controversy. Okay.
One of my concerns on the map is it was Robin Fisher on Fall Line Condominiums. The original map as it was submitted does not seem to spell out, it says where the uppermost conveyor ends. I don't believe that it identifies where the offload is and if there's a fence above it, where that's going to be, which will dramatically affect where the trail cut through for next year would end up being. I think there's been some folks who said, well, look, it could be just maybe a 4-foot elevation straight across, but that comes right across the top of where the conveyor ends according to the original map. I think there's some things that perhaps could be better identified or spelled out on the map, including the change of where they originally were planning to put the conveyors and where they're planning to put them now. That has been redesigned. Initially, it was going to be offloading to ski on both sides of the conveyors, and now the conveyors, I believe, have been moved over to more of the skiers left, so all traffic will be offloading and skiing on skiers right.
So the plan itself, as far as what's represented on the map, doesn't seem accurate to me at this point.
Doesn't seem accurate as opposed to what someone has said, or
There's a logistical reality that at the top of the uppermost conveyor is pretty much parallel with fall line. There's no reference to how much room they need above that conveyor for the offload. And then from there are fencing along Sundance, where that fence would be, which would then factor into how steep of an uphill climb would be required to get to the cut-through trail when they...
is it possible that they accounted for that room?
I don't know.
And that's maybe why they can't get any lower.
I think we're just trying to get some clarity in the commitment and something we can understand.
So I just wanted to throw a comment out there. A lot of the questions have revolved around how we're going to manage through traffic, and I don't put that information on the planning board application because it doesn't pertain to the town's ordinances. Skier traffic is something that we change and manage within our company, and like the offload of the lift is something that I would include in the application to the state tramway board, but it's not necessarily something I would include here because it doesn't pertain to what you're trying to determine.
What if it affects us financially? Does that bother you at all?
What's that, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Bill Cullen, what if it affects us financially?
Or in the town financially?
Will affect both financially.
Well,
Chris Mooney, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Chris Mooney. I drove up here. I have North drove 5, the condo. I have 2 small children. They're also going to have a heck of a time trying to get across the slope. I also snowboard. That's a totally different problem for me. It's much harder. And this, we just bought 2 years ago. This will radically change the valuation of our property. I'm afraid that overnight this could cause me to lose tens of thousands of dollars in the valuation of that property. Because quite frankly, this location, the amount that I paid is all about this location. And this does transform that valuation. So, that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to respond, I think as valued customers, there should be a discussion between Sunday River and the owners. I just don't think that that's pertinent to the application. That's pertinent to our relationship with our customers.
I was under the impression that if there was some kind of damages, those were relevant.
Well, I think between the damages and possibly what Brooks had brought up about
About acquisition or what is the adverse possession?
yeah, and I think that's where we're going to be seeking our lawyers' advice on all your questions. We pretty much hear what your concerns are. I just hope that you guys realize that we have certain criteria that we have to go by, and there might be other venues where you guys have to work out your issues, but we're bound by certain limitations, and sometimes I wish we weren't. Len?
Lenny Ambergy, Fall Line Association. I have an original brochure from 85, 86, advertising Fall Line as easy, ski out and ski in. So which lawyer do I send it to?
If you could give me a copy.
I'll say that you got a full copy.
Okay.
Jeff Irvine, Fall Line. I have 2 questions. I understood that this the body was to approve the plan and then work could commence, but I noticed today that work had already commenced on the property. And the other point that I wanted to ask is, for what you approved in this plan, for what while standing on the Fall Line property, you could see that the location of the upper magic carpet lift had moved substantially from what's represented on that plan, much closer to the tree line on the right-hand side looking up the slope. I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the chair.
So, Peter, is it my understanding that this year you're putting the list down in sort of a temporary fashion, and then, because this is reflective of once it's all been regraded, the plan, correct?
We're doing some regrading on the trail in preparation for the carpets, yeah.
But
The purpose
are
of
they gonna, do you know if you're doing it in the same location as the map, or just, because you had mentioned something about putting them on the surface just for this year, and then next year is when they're grading, most of the grading of the slope.
Yeah, our hope is that they'll land in their final location this fall, but that remains to be determined as we go through the winter.
And as it's laid out right now, it's different than what's on that map.
But just by your eyeball?
Not just my eyeball.
Well, I'm just saying.
No, in discussion with Peter, when we met on site on the 17th of September, he mentioned it's a fluid project and they've chosen to renegotiate it, redesign it, so instead of their conveyors being in the center of Sundance, they're moving them more towards the skiers left of Sundance. There won't be traffic offloading on both sides like is in the original plan. Instead, the learners or the folks coming off of the conveyors will be offloading to use the skiers right of the trail. So that the position of the conveyors now, or as it's being laid out, as they're being laid out, is different than what is on that map.
So, do you think that the public should have access to be able to tell anybody how to do their project?
My concern is just, that can it be...
I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, because it affects us materially.
I mean, safety,
No.
it's a safety issue.
No, but I think what's before the planning body should be the approved plan, not a plan that doesn't represent the actual work. So, as I said originally, I fully respect what Sunday River's trying to do. We should have a harmonious relationship with Sunday River, and I hope and think that we do. I'm just looking for a solution as my...
Well, it seems like the fluidity maybe is trying to work with you people. I'm not sure if that's your intention or not, but that would...
Moving it closer to us. We're moving it closer to us.
No, the fluidity within
Yeah, that's what I'm
the
talking
application.
about. It's making it worse.
Richard Bell, Fall Line Condo. Would a simple solution be for the board to put a modification in the application to approve it, stating that Fall Line Condo will have access, ski in, ski out, to some extent?
Yeah, that would fall under the condition of approval.
And you could even eliminate having to put in another trail on the other side. I don't think anybody really cares if this access trail of Little Dipper is there.
You're saying you don't care where it is, you just want to make sure there's legal...
No, I'm saying access, I would guess that people would be happy with skiers left, coming down skiers left to get in and get out. Not having to traverse across and eliminate the need for Sunday River to have to dig in and put in a new trail for access. I think if we just have access on the trail, the number of people we're talking about is fairly limited. It's not the total population of the mountain, but if it was labeled so that this access is for Fall Line or main adaptive guests type thing only.
That's what you currently use, right? Skiers left on
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's...
Lorraine Duclos, does this plan include the top shack? As we know, when we have conveyor belts, there's always a top shack. And if it doesn't, does that need to be in the plan for your approval?
I think for us, the location of the lift and, like Peter said, the details are probably not that important to us in the big scope of things. It wouldn't be. A lawyer might say something different, whereas when he reviews this and is looking at your concerns, I don't know.
I just think any building, we always have to get an approval for, correct?
I don't know what they have for a
Planning
top
board.
shack on this, but they're showing on the picture that there isn't. Is there a top shack?
I'm not sure yet. Most lifts have top shacks. This one's capable of being run without a top shack, but...
Yeah.
So
We have man people at the top now, currently, the old one.
Hi, Stacy McManus, also. I think I keep having some confusion over the types of things that you're approving and the types of things that you're not approving, like what is within and what's not within the purview. So sometimes when we're asking about the details about where is this going to go and how is that going to work, sometimes I feel like I hear you saying that's outside of our purview. And those are the things, a lot of the things that we definitely do care a lot about because they affect the regular experience and that affects our ability to rent and that affects the value and da-da-da-da-da. So can you just clarify for me, like what are the specific things that you are within your purview that need to be in this plan and the things that we care about that are outside of your purview, whose purview are they under?
I don't know if I can answer that, but I would suggest that you get a copy of the UDRO, the Unified Ordinance, and that lays out all we do. It's our Bible, it's what we go by, it's online.
What's it called?
It is online, right?
It is a development review ordinance. It is on a link on the website as an online document.
So,
And I think that'll be a help for you to understand. Like I said, I wish we could regulate being good neighbors, but that's not our purview.
Yeah, I hear
Okay, well, a
that.
lot of your concerns are stemming around that. But if you look at, especially criteria of approval that we use in our final, what we vote on to approve the application, that just reading through that will kind of give you an understanding of what we're approving and where we're limited and also.
what would help me is if, and I will look that up, probably should have before I came here, didn't know about it, but I will do that. What would help me would be just, so like, when we're talking about the various ways and means of getting in and out and what does ski in mean and what does ski out mean, like I think most of us construe that to mean that you're going down the hill when you're skiing in to a place and then you go down the hill to ski out of the place. I think that's, maybe it's not legal, it's a common understanding. And so when you say like that's not really something that's within our purview, whose purview is that in? Is that, like Peter mentioned, something called, well, I took a note on it somewhere or another. Well, I don't want to do that. Like, I'd far rather just work it out. But that was like
So
a
that's,
state.
that's not under our
state
purview,
family.
so that's, he's correct.
But at the same time, like I've also heard you say, if we approve this, then they'll do this. So that's where I get confused. Like you said, like if we approve this, then this is what they're going to do, and they can't do something else.
Right.
So that's where I get confused. Like, what is the this? If your purview is not about our access, skiing in and skiing out, what exactly do you mean when you say if we approve this, they can only do this?
Their application and what's on their plan, okay, and what's in their application. And through the course of process of our criteria of approval, that determines there's no, we're not making personal judgments. We need to check things off on, we're just here to check things off, and when we check all the right things off, they're either approved or they're not. So there's really no, I don't know how to answer your question any better than that.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out.
And
Maybe what would be the criteria for this?
I'm going to tell you all that we are going to fire off a correspondence to our lawyer, okay, and ask him these questions that you guys are asking us, so he can help lead us. And maybe there's something that we can do on that end, but we need clarification.
Okay, fair enough.
Is there a scenario without lawyers where you do disapprove things for some reason? You don't just read things and go, oh, you're approved. What would cause disapproval without a lawyer, for example? I'm just trying to understand.
They don't meet our criteria of approval on.
All right. I guess I'll just
Yeah, you should read it.
the criteria of approval.
You have a question? Yep.
Yes. Eric Paul again. You stated at one point that what's on that plan is what they have to build. Based on the pictures I saw, if what they're laying out now does not meet those plans, as I understand, it's the code enforcer's responsibility to enforce that. If he allows them to change it through a variance or whatever, through the project, can he also allow a variance for the uphill climb for next year?
He can't allow any variance himself, the code enforcement officer.
Correct. So if the lifts are not put in the center of the trails they're shown now, and they're more to the skiers left, which I personally actually think is a better thing for the learners and everything, but my opinion does not matter in this case. Do they have to go as drawn on there? Or can, as projects, like I said, I'm a civil engineer, things change when you're out in the field. Can, you're saying what's on that paper needs to be built. Can, if the lifts can move, and I'm not saying that has been approved, that they can move, can the trail also move? So that it's more downhill than uphill right now? Even if you approve that, because time is of the essence. Right now, if this goes to lawyers and it gets all hung up, there's not going to be any learning area. They already ripped their carpet out. I don't know, maybe they burned it. I don't know what they did with it. It's gone. So they need these lifts. So time is of the essence. We got it. We can't have this hung up on with lawyers. So we got to get it approved. But what we need is somehow in writing that we end up with ski out, downhill access. And if I'm just confused by your statement that at one point you said it has to be what's on the paper, and then you said, well, if the lifts move, that's okay.
I guess if I said that, I was wrong. Dave?
Dave Bonnie, code enforcement officer in Redden. I would have to enforce what's on the plan. If it was moved and I was to discover that, they would have to stop and come in and amend their project in front of the planning board. I don't pass or approve or make any amendments. They come to the planning board and get any amendments.
And go through all the amendment process.
So if their project isn't what they're proposing, then the interim proposal should, I believe, in my opinion, be in the application and also the final product, such as a phased project, possibly. Sounds like it's 2 phases, this year and next year. But yeah, whatever the applicant proposes, they have to build. If they don't, it's a notice of violation and stoppage at the appropriate time.
Len?
Andy Birdie, Fall Line. This is a question. When I did the site walk with Peter, and one of the things that was discussed was possibly if we went the ski on skiers right, then possibility there could be a widening of that area that we might be our egress and not have to do the additional trail. Is that something that would fall if they choose to do that to help keep us happy? Does that have to be redone, or that's not part of it, if they don't actually put in that other trail? I guess that's, you know, the trail's on the map. If they don't put that in and they choose to widen Sundance to skiers right so that we can just simply go around, and that's downhill. Does that have to be changed now, or is that something that could be dealt with, and you know, we can certainly talk about that. We're all willing to work in as many ways as we can to keep everybody happy.
Right.
It's a question of, we kind of have to have a real understanding, otherwise it's like, whoa, we didn't agree to that, well, too bad. You know, we don't want to be in that standpoint. I do believe the adverse is some form of protection for us, because it's nowhere in our deeds. I read them from A to Z several times, backwards, forwards. But the original documentation, which I will get to you, as quickly as possible.
It specifically says easy downhill access to Southbridge, is how these units were sold to folks when they were first being built.
Jim Castle, I'm kind of a new kid on the block here, Fall Line condo owner for about 2 months now. I'd like to echo a lot, echo some really good comments here, and again, cooperation with Sun River, and we'd all like to see it improve and grow. But to kind of consolidate a lot of the comments and sort of and echo a lot of the concerns here, I would like to request of the town to not approve this application until some form of ski in, ski out access is, and understanding it's a fluid situation, some form of ski in, ski out access is put in writing to the application for final approval.
Mr. Chairman, Paul Tabor, Fall Line, West 211. Just a couple of points, and one of them is the exigency that Sunday River has created by ripping out the carpet should not dictate on the approval process tonight. They created that situation by taking that carpet out. It appears to me with a weak set of plans. They've known for weeks what our concerns were, and they showed up tonight and had nothing for us. They haven't negotiated with us. They haven't talked to us and told us that they were going to help us my concern is the dangerousness of funneling a large number of people into a 1.5 cat track wide slope all the way down to Southridge. There's a lot of people that will be going through there. So for the sake of safety of the public that's going to use the learning area, they've totally thrown out our concerns of safety and for that group of people and made it dangerous for us. So my concern is danger for funneling a large number of people into a very small area on the left side of the trail. And the exigency shouldn't dictate the approval process when they created that. And that's what I'd like to say and add to that. Everybody's concern is ski out, but ski out safely is my concern. They can promise you can get down as long as you can hold your arms right here and go like a rocket ship down there, which the little kids are going to do. So that's a concern, a real concern, a dangerousness concern. And that's something that I would think that the board would have purview over.
It's also a very steep drop off to the left of the skiers' left snowcat width trail that's being proposed. It's at least a 2-to-1 drop off into snowmaking pipe. So there's that added element of danger, in my opinion.
So the proposed, like, I would say this is Sundance that comes right out of Fall Line, right, down by Main Adaptive Sports.
Mm-hmm.
So they're showing the finished grade of that being 12%, and they're showing the trail that they want to make for you being 9.5.
It's the narrowness
the width
of
of
the
it?
trail and the drop off to skiers left, and the fact that there's a brook there that I don't believe is on the map. I guess I'm also curious about what the setbacks are for Newry.
And no commitment to keep the trail. That's what he said.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to ask again, just for a matter of public record, that the civil works that are being undertaken right now by Sunday River have been already approved, or I'm not clear on that point.
It's the what?
The civil works, there's a backhoe on site that's digging large trenches on the Sundance Trail. I just want to, I'm not familiar with all of this process, but I just wanted to ask if that's an activity that's already been approved by this planning board.
We don't approve stuff like that.
Very too close. Unlike this gentleman here, my husband Paul is an original owner for more than 30 years. My question is, if they were to add a top shack to the top of this particular conveyor, would they have to come to you for approval? And would we, as abutters, get a notification of that?
No.
No. They can just add on at the top. A building.
Well, I guess we'd have to, I'll have to research that for you and see if Top Shack is considered a building, and it might be
It's a
structure.
Yeah.
Can I look into that?
Yes.
Yep.
And let us know. Thank you.
I would like just to point out for record on chapter 205 in Maine Civil proceedings, limitations of actions, adverse obstructions of right-of-way. So in this, again, says a 20-year, if it had been used unobstructed for 20 years, they have a right to continue that right-of-way. So this isn't a planning board issue. I mean, this is a legal issue that I read it, and as I say, I'm just a layperson, but as I read it, these two sections, Title 14, 812, is acquisition of rights-of-way and easements by adverse possession, and the obstructions, adverse obstruction, number 813, I think they apply to this situation because it's something that they've enjoyed. They bought their units with that in mind. They had ski in, ski out. A lot of people bought it from the letters because they have children or families or rent for that specific use. And to me, it's if the plans go as presented, will obstruct that and deny both of those rights.
I cannot wait to ask the lawyer.
Because, even though they don't own the land, the access is continued for 20 years as I read it. They have vested rights in it.
Lorraine Bell, 401 South 101. Is it customary to have a lawyer present when we know that there's an issue with all the letters that you receive?
Customary for us to have?
Is it customary to have the lawyer who is going to ultimately, it sounds like, decide on this? Is it customary that they would be here to get through some of these questions and these legal issues that would help put us at ease?
I don't know if it's customary or not, but this is just a public hearing, is just what we're doing now. So all you people can come, ask questions of the planning board, and if there's something that we can't do, then we will go ask the lawyer. But as far as standard practices, I don't think there's any rule.
It just seems like this is a pretty, it involves, a lot of people who are owners, 128 units.
Right.
We all pay taxes to the town of Newry, not just Sunday River. And it just seems like it's a much bigger issue, and like Mr. Taylor said, we want to see this, the Sundance lifts go in. It helps all of us. We all have children that are willing to, that are going to be learning. I think it's a safety issue as well with a green and a half. Not everybody can turn in that amount of space. I guess I have a question also for you, Peter. Is the zip line coming out? Because I was under the impression that that's being taken out.
Yeah, it's our plans to take it out.
So that would help access the skiers right going down.
Yeah, if you look at the plan is to widen the trail out pretty significantly too.
And no more tubing?
I haven't figured that out yet.
Because that would be an issue too, I would think, if you're trying to still incorporate that in. That's a lot for that trail, I would think, safety-wise.
Okay, one couple more. If there's nothing new, we'll probably be wrapping this up so we can have a regularly scheduled meeting.
My name is James Ledke. I'm on North 203 at Fall Line. I'm asking the planning board to please deny this application. I believe that the plan as written will cause me financial harm by removing access to a right-of-way, which I believe I have, and I would like to take that into consideration with whatever decision you make.
Hey, Susie McManus, I was just wondering if Becky, or, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Can you speak up, please?
Gooch.
Gooch.
I was just wondering if Becky or Cooch had any questions or anything, just because I don't know, as board members, I just wondered if there were any things that you wanted to better understand either about the plan or about our concerns.
No, just taking in what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I'm taking in what I'm hearing, and I've been looking at these plans for a month already, so actually, probably a little longer than that.
Or if you have any questions about our concerns or anything.
No, I pretty much understand what your questions are.
So is there anybody that hasn't spoken that would like to speak?
Yes. Would Peter be willing to talk to the people
State her
from
name.
the, would he be,
Can you
my
state your
name?
name, ma'am?
Oh, Kathleen Wall, I'm sorry.
Thank
Just figured everybody knew what it was, I'm sorry about that. I was just wondering, I'm hearing what Eric was saying with a slight changing. Is that something that Peter would be willing to negotiate with us so that we could get more of a downhill versus this uphill that we don't want?
As far as I know, ma'am, I've heard him offer to be willing to work with you people. I can't make him do that. I can't make you go there and do it. So that's all I know that he is.
I guess what I'm saying also is, would he be willing to meet with us as a group? And sit down and talk if need be. But what I'm thinking is, when you're saying the thing is gonna go the way it says it is, it's not saying he's gotta give us this versus this or this, which sounds like across or uphill and across. And that's what we're most concerned about, I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Pete, that we might need a revised plan, possibly, if you are going to change it from that location. So I'll leave that up to you. If you're not going to change it, if that's where it's going to be, then that's in. Well, this is a phased project, though. I don't know if you people. This is. I mean, you're going to take them up next year to do the grading, right?
Hopefully, hopefully not.
Right. I mean, if this project goes through, this year is kind of, I think.
We don't have a phase plan before us.
And that might be something that we might want to look into, because that way.
We need to have things in writing. We can't just say things are working out themselves. You know, I think that.
If I might, I believe the application talks about the phasing of the progress. That's.
Yeah, because we know it's going to be 2 years.
But
we can take another look at that.
There's no phase 1 and phase 2 on the print. And if we approve the print as written, if it doesn't say anything about phasing, then we can't hold you to that.
So we can take that up at a meeting, and maybe look into that a little more.
Well, I'm pretty certain that's a true statement.
Well, I'm not denying that. Is there any more questions that haven't been asked? Glenn?
I will send Peter a copy of all the emails I received. I will give you a copy of, as far as I know, the people that sent them. And again, Peter, you can respond to them as you choose, or respond to them collectively. That's fine too, but you'll see a copy of what each, and some people here didn't send one in. They may have sent it in regular mail, so I wouldn't have those in particular. But this is the list of the ones that we know actually sent something electronically. And so you're welcome to have that at the end.
Everything that I got is from the planning board.
Right.
We have
Should be
copies
right there.
of, yeah.
And
Did anybody here send anything snail mail? You did, okay. To the town office?
Yeah, we received one.
I think it would be important if we did have that list, just to confirm.
Make sure we don't miss something.
Verification.
And again, personally, thank you for listening to us. We appreciate, you're kind of in a between a rock and a hard place and so forth, but, we all want to work this out if we can, period. We don't want to get nasty about it. That doesn't build anything.
They did tar the road, by the way.
They did?
Yes, thank you.
So Len, how come every time I see you, we're in between a rock and a hard place?
I am always between a rock and a hard place.
One more, and then we're gonna have to wrap
All right,
this up.
wrapping up, I'd like to ask Peter to direct it to him to address the group, see if he's on board with what the concerns were, and if he's has a good understanding of it, and what we really,
Peter,
all are, whatever.
you have an understanding of what?
I understand your concerns. I want to focus on the concerns that pertain to the ordinance tonight, and I'm happy to meet with you if you have other concerns as a client, business relationship, and hear what you guys have to say, because like somebody pointed out, you're a big client base.
The big what?
Client base.
Oh, yeah, I would say.
And I would also suggest you both to look at chapters 812 and 813 about acquisition of rights of way of adverse possession, because even though it isn't in our ordinance, it's state law, and where they have enjoyed this relationship for 20 years, they do have legal rights with the state.
You'll find with adverse possession, though, that there's a right to reroute access.
Yeah, I mean, if they bought that with the understanding that they have ski in and ski out, if they're gonna lose that, that is, would be considered adverse possession according to state statutes.
Ski in, ski out, walking.
We're gonna get determination from our lawyer on this.
Yes, but I would encourage you folks to talk about that in any meetings that you have too. Because, there are legal rights involved.
Guy, you're the only one that's here, like full-time, or does any other people live here as residents? You guys, okay. I just, for easiness for you guys to, I know it's hard when everybody lives, well, for a
Well,
while.
ultimately, on October weekend, there'll be a lot of people around.
October Columbus Day weekend.
It's coming right up.
Indigenous Peoples Weekend.
Fall Festival weekend, let's go there.
All right, well, thank you all, appreciate it, and we heard your concerns, and we're gonna close out the public hearing and jump right into our regularly scheduled meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.